Take a look around. If you're here for a prayer service, go to Live Online Services and Classes, then click Online Prayer Service. This will take you to our prayer service room. There you'll see a live streaming video, a chat feature, and the Siddur that we use embedded right in the page. If you're here for a class or for Torah study, also go to Live Online Services and Classes, Live Judaism Classes, and Torah Study. You'll also see a live video feature there, a chat room, and the week's Torah portion embedded right in the page. We also offer a variety of resources. Check out our India Shiva for articles on daily prayers, the texts, the Torah and the Talmud, spirituality, and holidays. If you'd like to stay in touch, sign up for our mailing list so you know what's going on in your community. OneShul.org, the only synagogue as unique as you are.
Hi, it's Rivka. It's lovely to see you, and it's lovely to see so many people in the chat room. It's great. Thanks, Patrick, for letting me late tonight. Hopefully I have something interesting for you. We'll see. There's a lot of windows for me to juggle, so we'll try it out. I'm going to be reading out of this particular one because for me it works the best. It's large print. I don't have a JPS yet in large print. I have a little bitty tiny one that's my pocket one for school. So we'll use that one. It's kind of in the middle of both of them. It's pretty good. I have the other two if anyone decides they want to, or if they have a different commentary and they want to look at it or whatever. Oh, I have to show off my book. I have to show off this beautiful, beautiful art scroll edition that I just got. And you see all the beautiful embossment. They don't make books like they used to. They still make religious books like they used to, but they don't make books like they used to. So, yes, please join in, and feel free to stop me at any time if I'm speaking too fast. If you want to jump in, if you have something to say, please, please, please stop me, or chime in and let me know what you think, and I will get to you as soon as possible as I'm reading from different things. So we're gonna start here. Pinchas, yes? Phineas. We have Phineas. So let's go a little bit of the background here, and we're gonna look at chapter 25, 7 and verse 7 and 8, just to kind of get remember what happened from last week's portion. It says, when Phineas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, saw this, he left the assembly, and taking a spear in his hand, he followed the Israelite into the chamber and stabbed both of them, the Israelite and the woman, through the belly. So Phineas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, is displaying his zeal for Hashem by killing an Israelite man and a Midianite woman who were engaging in a public act of sexual idolatry. That is, following the proclamation from last week's portion that the Israelites should not mix. That is, they should keep separate in order that they don't fall prey to idolatry as many did. In the Babylonian Talmud, Shahidran 82a, it is said that in Rabbi Yohan's name that had Zemiri, the man withdrawn from his mistress, and Phineas still killed him, Phineas would have been liable to the execution for murder, and had Zemiri killed Phineas in self-defense, he would not have been liable for execution for murder, as Phineas was seeking to take Zemiri's life. So based on Numbers 28, chapter 25, verse 8, and verse 11, the Mishnah lists the case of a man who has sexual relations with an Armenian woman as one of the three cases for which it is permissible for zealots to punish the offender on the spot. What do you think of that? I know that was a big mouthful, but just in this mindset, here we go. We have this zealous, go-getting Phineas to be the important part of our story. So we're going to start here with the actual portion, and that's verse 25, chapter 25, verse 10, and we're going to read to verse 13. Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, has turned back my, with a capital M, wrath from the Israelites by displaying among them his passion for me, capital M, so that I did not wipe out the Israelite people in my passion. Say therefore, I grant him my pact of peace, or in some translations, friendship. It shall be for him and his descendants after him a pact of priesthood for all time, because he took impassioned action for his Hashem, thus making explanation for the Israelites. So Phinehas' act is portrayed in the Torah as, an act of salvation for the Israelites. As a result of his initiative, the plague afflicting the people is checked. And then again at the beginning of our portion here, Hashem is telling Moses that Phinehas' action saved the Israelites nation. So it's important to note that commentators have been troubled by Phinehas' actions, as am I. It's suggested that it seems to be that he's being rewarded by Hashem for his zealousness. It has been suggested that Hashem's offer of the pact of peace or friendship, Brit Shalom, should be regarded so much as Phinehas' reward, but rather as a covenant that will require responsibility and moderation on the part of this future Israelite. So we have a really interesting thing here. A powerful commentary on Phinehas is written into the very fabric of the Torah itself. The Masorets, the 8th and 9th century rabbinic sages who codified the Torah, the written Torah, into the verses we know today, instructed that the word shalom, and the term Brit Shalom, here you can see, should be written with a broken letter Vav. As a result, every Torah scroll now bears this inner message, that a peace achieved through zealotry and violence is an incomplete peace, as is a broken Vav, a broken peace, as it were. So I found that really an interesting idea there, that it's written into the fabric of everyone. So here we're going to start a really interesting section, and we're gonna. It's not really interesting; it's really boring. But we've got lots of pictures to to help us along. And Shalom always comes back to bite you in the end, indeed. Interesting that it's codified anti-fundamentalism. Yeah, indeed. There's some very, very interesting writings about Phinehas, and all through this it's really great. So we're going to start here, and I'm going to start giving you some of the of chapter 26. We're going to start with 26:1. When the plague was over, the Lord said to Moses and to Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, "Take a census of the whole Israelite community from the age of 20 years up, by the ancestral houses, all Israelites able to bear arms." So Moses and Eleazar the priest, on the steeps of Moab, at the Jordan near Jericho, gave instructions about them, namely, those 20 years up, as the Lord had commanded Moses. So we're going to do another census, which should be interesting. So we're going to start here with Reuben. Reuben's Israel's firstborn, descendants of Reuben, of Enoch, the clan of Enochites, of Paul, the clan of Paulites, of Hezron, the clan of Hezronites, of Cami, the clan of Camarites. Those are the clans of Reubenites. The persons enrolled came to 43,730. Now, here's an interesting one to look at. Verse 8. Born to Paul, Elab. The son of Elab were Nemuel and Dathan and Abraham. These are the names that Dathan and Abraham chosen in the assembly, who agitated against Moses and Aaron as part of Korah's band when they agitated against the Lord. Whereupon the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up with Korah. When that band died, with the fire consuming the 250 men, and they became an example. The sons of Korah, however, did not die. So that's really interesting. So what we have here is Hashem is instructing Moses and Eleazar to take their census of the men 20 years up. and they're doing as they're ordered. It's immediately after the plague, so it's kind of like they're reporting back to Hashem about what's going on. And Midrash concluded that whenever the Israelites were struck, they needed to be counted, as a shepherd will count the sheep after a wolf's attack. Alternatively, Midrash Pinchas 4 taught that Hashem ordered Moses to count the Israelites as Moses neared death, much as a shepherd entrusted with a set number of sheep must count those that remain when the shepherd returns the sheep to their owner. Very interesting idea there. So here at that we've just looked, the verse that we've just read about Korah's band, it's really important to note that we've lost these two parts of the line, but his Korah's son still survived. So that's interesting. We won't do too many of these, I promise. Verse 12. Descendants of Simeon by their clans of Namuel, the clan of Namuelites, of Jamin, the clan of Jaminites, of Jachim, the clan of Jachimanites, of Zah, the clan of Zarianites, of Sal, the clan of Salites, those of the clans of Simeonites, persons enrolled, 22,200. So, you know, taking account of things. Not a very important line there. Descendants of Gad. Let's see. No, that's Dan. No, that's Gad. Descendants of Gad, by their clans, of Zephron, the clan of Zephronites, of Hagi, the clan of Hagitites, of Shuni, the clan of Shunites, of Ozni, the clan of Ozninites, pardon me if I'm butchering these words, of Eri, the clan of Eritites, of Arod, the clan of Arodites, of Ari, the clan of Ariites. Those are the clans of Gad's descendants, persons enrolled, 40,500. The next one, verse 19. Interesting that it's worded differently. Born to Judah, Er and Onan died in the land of Canaan. Descendants of Judah by their clans of Shelah, the clan of the Shelanites, of Perez, the clan of the Perezites, of Zerah, the clan of Zerites, descendants of Perez, of Haron, the clan of Haronites, of Halmud, the clan of Halmudites. Those are the clans of Judah, persons enrolled, 76,500. Now the next really important one to look at, the next one is Issachar, and then Zebulun, and then we get to an important line, and this is verse 29. And I hope you can see these graphics. If you'll give me feedback on how this looks, that would be great, because I'm working with whatever little skills I have. Verse 29. Descendants of Manasseh, of Machir, the clan of Machirites. Machir begot Gilead, of Gilead, the clan of Gileadites. Period. These were the descendants of Gilead, of Ezer, the clan of Ezerites, of Helek, the clan of Helekites, of Azriel, the clan of Azrielites, of Shechem, the clan of Shechemites, of Shemida, the clan of Shemidites, of Hefer, the clan of Heferites. Now, Zelophehad, son of Hefer, had no sons, only daughters. The names of their daughters were Mela, Noah, Hogla, Milcah, and Tzitza. Those are the clans of Manasseh. Persons enrolled, 52,700. So, they are an important family to look at. Thanks, I'm glad the graphics are looking good. They're an important family to look at, because this is where we're going to see our feminism come up later. Is this, why are the women here mentioned where we're only talking about males 20 and older, and the male, the patrial line of passage of the rights, but not in this case. So we'll come to that one. Don't worry. So what we're at now is they've gone on from tent to tent, and they go and they see Asher, and they see, they see everything, and they come to this point, to verse 51. And here's you a graph that says this is the enrollment of the Israelites. 601,730. So you can see from Numbers 1, chapter 1, to Numbers chapter 26, we've lost almost 2,000, not quite 2,000 people. And look at how much some of the other tribes have increased. It's really quite interesting. It's a really long list. And it goes on, and I think it's split up something like this. There's a lot of argument in Talmud and Midrash and some other, legal writings about exactly where all the clans were, but this is a basic idea of what's going on. So, you can see, what's going on. So Hashem has told Moses here in, we're going to say in verse 52, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, amongst these shall the land be apportioned as shares, according to the listed names. With larger groups increase the share, with smaller groups reduce the share. Each is to be assigned its share according to its enrollment. The land, moreover, is to be apportioned by lot, and the allotment shall be made according to the listings of their ancestral tribes. Each portion shall be assigned by lot, whether for larger or for smaller groups. So you have here another interesting thing. We're going through law again, but we're going through a revision of the government system because it's been 40 years, and there's new tribes, and so it has to go slightly new way. So Hashem has told Moses to apportion the shares of lands according to population among those counted and by lot. Rabbi Jonathan taught that the land was apportioned according to those who entered the land, and not according to those who came out of Egypt, from Numbers 26:53. It says, unto these the land shall be divided for it an inheritance. So it's interesting to think, how exactly everything got portioned out, and that kind of is a narrative throughout this particular portion, is that we're going to get a little bit of narrative, a little bit of law, a little bit of narrative, a little bit of law, like we always do. So, verse 57. This is the enrollment of the Levites by their clan. Of Gershon, the clan of Gershonites. Of Kohath, the clan of Kohathites. Of Merari, the clan of Merarites. Those are the clans of Levi. The clan of Libanites, the clan of Hebronites, the clan of Malitites, the clan of Mushitites, the clan of Korathites. Korath begot Amram. The name Amram's wife was Jochebed, daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt. She bore to Amram Aaron and Moses and their sister Miriam. To Aaron were born Naab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar. Naab and Abu died when they offered the fire before the Lord, which we learned in one of our previous portions. Their enrollment of 23,000 comprised all males from a month up. They were not part of the regular enrollment of the Israelites, since no share was assigned to them among the Israelites. So this is interesting. They're not here for the land census, but they're still part of the census, because of course you're going to have priestly duties done in all these different areas. So they got to figure out how many of those that have not been redeemed, those of month or older, that will be in service of the temples. So that's interesting. Verse 63, these are the persons enrolled by Moses and Eleazar, the priests, who registered the Israelites on the steeps of Moab, at the Jordan near Jericho. Among these were not one of those enrolled by Moses and Aaron, the priests, when they recorded the Israelites in the wilderness of Sinai. For the Lord had said to them, they shall die in the wilderness. Not one of them survived, except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, son of Nun. So we've got these two outliers that have just that have survived. I find it really interesting that the text would say that none survived, except at the very end the two. So that takes us to chapter 27, and it's this is where we start to get into our story section. That's going to create some more law. So we've got the daughters of Zelophehad. These daughters approached Moses, Eleazar the chieftain, and the assembly at the entrance of the tabernacle, saying that their father left no sons, and asking that they be given a land holding. So verse 7, the daughters of the Masonite family, son of Hefer, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manash, son of Joseph, came forward. The names of the daughters, again, we can see here, are listed. They stood verse 2, they stood before Moses, Eleazar the priest, the chieftains, the whole assembly, and they said, our father died in the wilderness. He was not one of the faction, Korah's faction, which banded together against the Lord, but died for his own sin, and he has left no sons. Let not our father's name be lost to his clan, just because he had no son. Give us a holding among our father's kinsmen. Okay, so they're pleading their case. So what's going to happen? So in verse 5, we see, and we can see here this beautiful Bible, 18th century Bible imprint, that they're looking here at Moses, and Moses he's holding his head, he's confounded. So verse 5, Moses brought their case before the Lord, and the Lord said to Moses, the plea of the daughters is just. You should give them a hereditary holding among their father's kinsmen, transfers their father's share to them. Further, speak to the Israelite people as follows. If a man dies without leaving a son, you shall transfer his property to his daughter. If he has no daughter, you shall assign his property if he dies without leaving a son, you shall transfer his property to his daughter. If he has no daughter, you shall assign his property to his brothers. If he has no brothers, you shall assign his property to his father's brothers. If his father has no brothers, then you shall assign his property to his nearest relative in his own clan, and he shall inherit it. This shall be the law of the procedure for the Israelites in accordance with the Lord's commandments to Moses. So, it's gone so far as we've taken the narrative of the daughters of going to plead their case and make sure their father's name isn't lost among the registers, and to perplex Moses, according to some other sources, and actually having a coda, an addition to the laws given at Sinai to have this inheritance law. And this would be the point at which it was biggest. So in the Babylonian Talmud, Shahidran 8a, Rabbi Neiman asked, did Moses say, bring it unto me and I will let you hear it? No. He said, I will hear it if I am instructed. It is well. If not, I will get me instructions how to deal with it. So he would go, of course, to Hashem if he didn't know, and that's exactly what he did. And the case of the daughters is to explain, as it was taught, that the section relating to the laws of inheritance was intended to have been written at the instance of Moses, our teacher, being at Mount Sinai. The daughters, though, however, were found worthy to have the section recorded on their account. Similarly, the law concerning the gathering of sticks on the Sabbath was to have been written at the instance of Moses at Sinai. But the gatherer, however, was found culpable, and so it was recorded on his account. This is to teach us that evil is brought about through the agency of sinful men, and good through that of worthy men. In the Talmud and the Zohar, there is a reference to their father having died in his own sin. That is used to equate him with the man executed for gathering sticks on the Sabbath. Yeah, you always wondered how that conversation went between the daughters and Moses and Hashem. Yeah, can you imagine the legal system? We're going to talk about it a little bit more here in a minute, but what gall, what chutzpah, shall we say, did these girls have to stand up against the entire assembly and say, you know, give us our portion? Seems more of reasoning instead of shouting. Yeah, they're not really shouting. They're pleading their case. The Zohar said that the daughters drew near to Moses in the presence of Eleazar and all the chieftains because they were afraid of Moses' anger at their father, and taught that it might be contained in public forum. Zohar 205b. So you know, they're being in a public scene so that everybody can see, so that they don't incur any one man's wrath. So according to the Zohar, Moses presented the case to Hashem instead of deciding it himself out of modesty. So that's an interesting, this time instead of out of perplexion, the Zohar says it's out of modesty. What an interesting, you know, transition that's made to different ideas. And pardon me if I pronounce this wrong. Barata taught that the daughters were wise, Torah students, and righteous. Another one taught that the daughters were equal in merit, and that is why the order of their names varies in the text. According to the Gemara, they demonstrated their wisdom by raising their case in a timely fashion, just as Moses was expounding the laws of Levirate marriage, and they argued for their inheritance by analogy to the law. The daughters also demonstrated their righteousness by marrying men who were fitting for them. We'll see that in a minute. But there you go, Jeremiah. There's another little insight there from some other stories of how that conversation might have gone. Later in the narrative of the book of Numbers, we're going to see that the elder clan of Gilead petitioned Moses and the tribal chieftains for advice, because they were concerned that if these daughters married men from another Israelite tribe, the property that the daughters had inherited their right to would become the property of the other tribe and would be lost from the tribe that it belonged to. So it continues by stating that Hashem gave Moses a response to give to the elders. Yet again, he has to go for advice. Namely, that the daughters must each marry someone from the Gilead clan, but they are otherwise unrestricted in their choices. So it also states that so this gives us more law on inheritance that has to be revised again later, which is another interesting thing. That they have to marry basically one of their cousins. It also states that it's a general case that it was to be implied that inheritance cannot pass between tribes, but instead any female that inherits land is compelled to marry someone from the same clan as her father. The narrative's coda mentions that the daughters each marry one of the sons of their uncles, and this is why the Gemara states that the daughters had demonstrated their righteousness in doing so, as these men were fitting for them and hadn't married earlier as they were waiting for suitable partners. So that's really an interesting idea, that these women were well educated, well spoken, sat around and maybe was there at the right moment to state their case, and also some of them might have gotten pushed into the marriage, but some of them might also have wanted these particular men. I mean, 5 men, 5 girls, 5 boys. They must have been people they'd known since their childhood. Like my parents were neighbors when they were children, neighboring farms. And so they would have known the character of these people. They would have known, what it would be like. So it's interesting that it says that they're righteous. I don't know what you think of that. Demonstrated their righteousness. I think maybe it's their they figured out a way to make the system work for them, is what I think happened. But here, so Hashem has instructed that if a man died without leaving a son, it goes through all the transferring of the properties, as we've stated before. So here we get to change streams a little. So chapter 27 verse 12, the Lord said to Moses, ascend these heights of Abarim and view the land that I have given to the Israelite people. When you have seen it, you too shall be gathered to your kin, just as your brother Aaron was. For in the wilderness of Zin, when the community was contiguous, you disobeyed my command to uphold my sanctity in their sight by means of the water. Those are the waters of Merabath Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin. Moses spoke to the Lord, saying, let the Lord, source of the breath of all flesh, appoint someone over the community, who shall go out before them and come in before them, and who shall take them out and bring them in, so that the Lord's community may not be like sheep that have no shepherd. And the Lord, so Hashem has told Moses to climb to the heights of Abarim and view the land of Israel, saying that once he has seen it, he will die, because he disobeyed Hashem's commandment earlier. So he's gone up to the rock. Now, Moses, what's his first thought? He's not thinking about death, which is what's interesting here. His question isn't, can't I have another year? It's, can we appoint someone over the community so that the Israelites would not be like sheep without a shepherd? So I find that very interesting. That's his first thought, instead of something else. So, verse 22. I'm sorry. Verse 18. And the Lord answered Moses, single out Joshua, son of Nun, an inspired man, and lay your hand upon him. Have him stand before you, and lay your hand upon him. Have him stand before Eleazar the priest, and before the whole community, and commission him in their sight. Invest in him some of your authority, so the whole Israelite community may obey. But he shall present himself to Eleazar the priest, who shall on his behalf seek the decision of the Urim before the Lord. By such instructions they shall go out, and by such instructions they shall come in, he and all the Israelites, the whole community. Moses did as the Lord commanded him. He took Joshua and had him stand before Eleazar the priest, and before the whole community. He laid his hands upon him and commissioned him as the Lord had spoken through Moses. So we need to note that soon after this incident of Zelophehad's daughters, a midrash deduced that when the daughters inherited from their father, Moses argued that it would surely be right for his sons to inherit his glory. However, Hashem replied, in words of the Proverbs 27:18, that, quote, whoever keeps the fig tree shall eat its fruit, and whoever waits on the master shall be honored. Now, what an interesting thing for midrash to say is an answer to that. It says that the sons of Moses sat idly by and did not study Torah, but Joshua served Moses and showed him great honor. He rose early in the morning and remained late at night at the house of assembly. He arranged the benches and spread the mats As he served Moses with all his might, he was worthy to serve Israel. And thus Hashem, in Numbers 27:18 that we've read, decreed to Moses, take Joshua the son of Nun as your successor. So Joshua was presented to Eliezer after Moses put both hands willingly upon Joshua to transfer all of his authority. And he was to seek the decision of the Urim and the Torah, Thummim, on whether to go out or come in. Now I've researched this, and it's Urim and Thummim. I can't do it. Or Ha'urim V'Ha'Turim. It's associated with Hoshen, or in simpler terms, the high priest's breastplate and divination in general. So many scholars suspect that the phrase refers to specific objects involved in divination. So what Eliezer would use to sanctify, to double check, to make sure that Joshua really was the best successor. So that ends chapter 27, and we get to chapter 28. So this is where it gets a little bloody. And I'm going to start by saying that it's interesting to study all this cult sacrifice ideas and what it means. And I take these ideas and I translate them for myself. And I think this is a general idea amongst a lot of people, is that I can't do an animal sacrifice. Not only is there not a temple, but I wouldn't do an animal sacrifice and we'd have tofu probably, Kentucky Fried Vegan. But I can take my time, and my time is the most valuable thing I own. It's mine, and nobody can take it. Although it continues, I spend it the way I choose, and therefore I find that an interesting way of making the sacrifice by sacrificing your time. So, chapter 28. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, command the Israelite people and say to them, be punctilious in presenting to me at stated times the offerings of food due to me as gifts of pleasing odor to me. Say to them, these are gifts that you are presenting to the Lord. A regular burnt offering every day, two yearling lambs without blemish. You shall offer one lamb in the morning, and another lamb you shall offer at twilight. Two good shemas that we have in the PunkTorah Siddur, the OneShul Siddur. I'm sorry, I have a PunkTorah Siddur. That's how long I've had these. Thank you so much, Patrick. So here we start getting this list of offerings. And a grain of offering there shall be 1/10 of an ephah of your flour with 1/4 of a hin of beaten oil mixed in. The regular burnt offering instituted at Mount Sinai, a gift of pleasing odor to the Lord. A libation with it shall be 1/4 of a hin for each lamb, to be poured in the sacred precinct as an offering of fermented drink to the Lord. The other lamb you shall offer at twilight, preparing the same grain offering and libation as in the morning, a gift of pleasing odor to the Lord. On the Sabbath day, 2 yearling lambs without blemish together, with 2/10 of a measure of choice flour with oil mixed in and grain offering, with a proper libation, a burnt offering for every Sabbath, in addition to the regular burnt offering and its libation. So, you know, here's all our sacrifices, what you're supposed to do. So, basically, we've learned here that if we are equating not being able to do animal sacrifice with being able to do time sacrifice, we found out that we need a morning sacrifice and a twilight sacrifice, which works out really well if you work a 9 to 5 or whatever. So so what's next? On your new moons you shall present a burnt offering to the Lord, 2 bulls of the herd, 1 ram, and 7 yearling lambs without blemish. And on and on and on and on until we get to verse 16. And this is where we get, in the first month, on the 14th day of the month, there shall be a Passover sacrifice to the Lord. And on the 15th day of the festival, unleavened bread shall be eaten for 7 days. The first day shall be a sacred occasion. You shall not work at your occupations. You shall present a gift, a burnt offering to the Lord. And it goes on and on to tell you exactly what the gift is. But there you go. There's a Pesach Seder for you. All this sounds like the basis for prayer, Rosh Chodesh, etc. Exactly. Exactly. We're setting up here what's going to happen, what we need to do, where the sacrifices are going to be. So, now we have verse 26. And it says, on the day of the first fruits, your feast of weeks, when you bring an offering of new grain to the Lord, you shall observe a sacred occasion. You shall not work on your occupations. You shall present a burnt offering of pleasing odor to the Lord. And also its fruit and whatnot. So that pretty much finishes out that there. So now we've got the regular days, the Sabbath, Rosh Chodesh, and Pesach. Now, Pesach. The text details the offerings for Pesach. Some explain the double nomenclature of Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread, as referred to in the 2 separate feasts, that the Israelites combined sometime between Exodus and the biblical text, when the biblical text became settled. Some believe that the Feast of Unleavened Bread was an agricultural festival at which the Israelites celebrated the beginning of the grain harvest. Pesach, on the other hand, was associated with being as thanksgiving for this, and thus a sacrifice of the lamb to remember Exodus. So it's interesting that those two probably went together. So at 26, where we've just read, we've gotten the details for Shavuot. Then in the Torah, it's called the Feast of Weeks, the Day of the First Fruits, the Feast of the Harvest, and a Holy Convocation. Exodus 34:22 associates it with the first fruits of the wheat harvest. In turn, Deuteronomy 26:1 to 11 set out the ceremony for bringing of the first fruits. Leviticus 23:21 and Numbers 28:26 ordain a holy convocation in which the Israelites were not to work. So we get all these examples of what's going on, what's happened in the past, what's going to happen, and how one should act. So now we have gotten to chapter 29. Look at us moving right along. We're going to make it. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you shall observe sacrifice. You shall not work at your occupations. You'll observe a day when the horn is sounded. So here you go. You got your shofar being sounded. And this we have the text details for Rosh Hashanah. It is called a day of blowing the horn, and it's also called a holy convocation in Numbers 29:1. Also called a memorial proclamation with the blast of the horns from Leviticus 23:24. So, are all these days based on Israel's seasons? Yes, and it's very interesting calendar. I'll take just 30 seconds here and explain the calendar if you don't mind. The Israelites are actually using the Arcadian calendar, which is a lunar calendar. They're another Semite tribe, but not the Israelites. So they're using this calendar, the lunar calendar, and it doesn't quite sync up, so there's leap years. But these leap years had to be instated in order to make sure that the calendar matched up with the solar calendar, the Gregorian calendar, in order that the seasons the festivals wouldn't get out of season. They would always change dates in the Gregorian calendar, but they would stay fixed in the Arcadian calendar, the Israelite calendar, and go through in the correct seasons. That's why you have things around the same time every year. That's why Pesach is always around Easter. among probably many other reasons. So 29. In the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you shall observe a sacred occasion. You shall not work your occupations. You shall observe it as a day when the horn is sounded. We did that one. Verse 7. On the 10th day of the same 7th month, you shall observe a sacred occasion when you shall practice self-denial. So here we have Yom Kippur coming. You shall do no work. You shall present to the Lord a burnt offering of pleasing odor, and it goes on to tell the offering and the libations that are required with that. On the 15th day of the 7th month, verse 12, you shall observe a sacred occasion. You shall not work at your occupations. 7 days you shall observe a festival of the Lord. You shall present a burnt offering, a gift of pleasing odor to the Lord. It goes on to say it. And verse 16, and there shall be 1 goat for a purification offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering, its grain offering and libation. Now, here we have all the bulls that are supposed to be offered on each day, because now we've gotten to Sukkot, one of my favorite holidays. So you see here 13 bulls, 12 bulls, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. And here you can see an actual Sukkot. I didn't have a very good picture of one. On the 8th day, you shall hold, verse 35, I'm sorry. On the 8th day you shall hold a solemn gathering. You shall not work at your occupations. You shall present a burnt offering, a gift of pleasing odor to the Lord. And it says what it is. And 1 goat for purification. All these you shall offer to the Lord at the stated times, in addition to your votive and free will offerings, be they burnt offerings, grain offerings, libations, or offerings of well-being. Chapter 30. Here we are. We're making it. Verse 1. So Moses spoke to the Israelites just as the Lord had commanded to Moses. So, we've got the basis for being zealous, following laws further than they should be. We've got the tampering of that with Joshua helping out Phineas. So we're gonna have dynamic new leadership. It's an era of new leadership, and these two wise but very different men are going to help lead the people on in the future. So it's really interesting there. We've gotten rid of all of the old crowd now. Moses is even dead. So we're at a whole new point. There's a whole new life for everyone, and even with the daughters petitioning for their father's land, we have a new beginning there for feminism, whereas we can see that they are educated and well-minded, and were able to set their case so that they would receive their father's inheritance, and therefore the law was written. So we got narrative law, narrative law, narrative law, like usual. Then we get to the sacrifices, and this sets up, like Patrick says, it sounds like the basis for prayer. It sets up the times, what to do, where to do it. Now, we can't do the burnt offering, we can't do it to the specifications, but we have plenty of words to use and plenty of time to spend. We have our whole lives to learn, and although it may stop at any moment, if we live it to that very moment, at each moment, then we shall enjoy our lives. And the more we increase wisdom, the more we increase happiness. Or so they say, although more intelligent people seem to be more depressed. But anyways, so then we have all of the holidays. We have them all set out for us. We have our calendar year. We have our ideas. And we have all these great festivals to drive the economy and feed everyone and celebrate Torah and Hashem. So it's a great way to leave it in saying that Moses spoke to the Israelites and did just as he was commanded. So that all of this information was transmitted to everyone. So that's all I have for tonight. So what's up with the ads every 15 minutes? Oh, I didn't know that. That must be new. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, help us out then. Here you go. Phineas this week. Help us out. PayPal. PunkTorah@gmail.com. Send $5. Is there a way of making you pay $4 a month to Ustream? I don't know anything about Ustream. Patrick's telling us we're looking for a new service. A lot of services cost money, and in order for us to continue to offer these services, we need your help. Either your time sacrifice, or maybe you can spare a little bit of money. Even the poorest man, the man who lives on charity, should give charity just to know how it feels. So, if you have something else to donate other than money, time, or a skill, you have Patrick at PunkTorah.org. You can contact him and give him your information to help out. And please email me, Rivka at PunkTorah.org. Tell me how I did, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see. Do you have a question? Anything else? My favorite was an ad for converting to Islam that came up. That's interesting. Which brings us to, that's a shame that it's going out, Gabe, on you. So, that's all I had for this week. Please help us continue. Don't forget that this week there's also Torah 101 classes, and I believe Patrick's doing Shabbat this week. So tune in and enjoy. And classes tomorrow, Judaism 101. And classes are always interesting. So show up, enjoy, donate if you can. Donate whatever you can. Anything can be helpful. Take care, and I hope that this leaves everybody in a happy, healthy way. So, gay and good gesund. Go and good health.